It happened again. The Ukrainians struck more Russian jets. I'll tell you all about that and more in this video. So my name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide you with context in the war in Ukraine. And here are some things that were pretty amazing yesterday. And it's already reflected in the official tabulation of how many aircraft were knocked down, or actually these were on the ground. They weren't out, shot down in the sky. So what happened to these 4 jets? And by the way, this is all over the news. Here we see it in Newsweek, The Guardian, Kyiv Post, Reuters. It's everywhere. And it's not the first time that Russians lost these SU-34s or SU-34s. Marinovka airfield it's been hit before. Previous attack was back in August 22nd of 2024. Here, there was a big drone attack on a Russian military airfield in Volgograd region of Russia. Yeah, it's not like it's far from the Ukrainian border. I would understand if you were like off on the other side of Kazakhstan and you felt safe, but I don't think you should feel that safe right there. Okay, here it is again, distance to Ukraine and what the military airfield looks like. Okay, so the General Staff of Ukraine is reporting a strike by long-range drones destroyed 2 Russian Su-34 fighter bombers, or Su-34 fighter bombers, at the Marinovka Air Base, Russia's Volgograd region. 2 more were damaged. Now, what the degree of the damage, we don't understand. We don't know yet. But the ability to repair has been significantly impaired. I'm not trying to pun. It's hard. You're going to have to cannibalize perhaps one plane to restore the other, or from other parts, or maybe it's irreparable. We just don't know. It could be a huge loss. Ukraine's defense forces confirmed the outcome of yesterday's operation, destroying 2 Russian Su-34 bomber aircraft and damaging 2 other Russia's Marinovka Oblast. Let's read this. The SBU and Ukrainian Armed Forces, SSO, destroyed 2 Russian Su-34 aircraft. The Special Operations Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the Security Service of Ukraine conducted a joint special operation, as a result of which 2 Russian Su-34 fighter bombers were destroyed. More were damaged. The multifunctional fighter bombers are actively used by the enemy on the front line for bombing, including for dropping anti-aircraft missiles. The Ukrainian Armed Forces and the Security Services of Ukraine, SSU, used long-range drones to target Russian fighter jets. How these particular drones weren't shot down, I don't understand. You would think there would be air defense around the air base. The attack also caused a fire in the technical and operational part of the enemy airfield, which is critically important infrastructure of the military facility. It is there that the enemy prepares aircraft for flights, carries out their routine maintenance and repairs. Together with our brothers, we continue to work on weakening the aviation component of the Russian army. Okay, so it was a good hit. Even Fighter Bomber, a pro-Russian Telegram channel, was saying this: there's no point in commenting on Marinovka, another multi-billion-dollar loss that could and should have been prevented. Yeah, so each of these costs somewhere around 36 million, maybe 40 million, maybe a little less, something in that neighborhood. So you're looking at potentially 100,000 and plus loss, right? I mean, you're looking at a pretty big bad day. At very least, you're looking at probably $100 million loss. At very least, you're looking at a $70 million loss. I mean, it's pretty significant. And it would be nice if not only and this is a slang word that I'm not going to say for Ukrainians, were held accountable for it. Otherwise, it will continue like this. So he's calling out the Russian military, saying they ought to be accountable for what just happened. I'm sure that we'll respond to this with a bunch of angry and decisive telegrams. Yeah, but that's probably all that's going to actually happen. Soldiers, meanwhile, soldiers of the Alder unit brought down 2 Russian 4-post-R UAVs, each valued at around $7 million. These are high-end drones that are used for high-altitude reconnaissance, electronic warfare, radar reconnaissance, and are reportedly capable of carrying KAB-20 precision bombs. So they were knocked down. That's what these things are. Yeah. So it was a bad day all around. 4 of these kind of things were hit. $7 million each. So my title was that there was $100 million day, and that might be a conservative figure. So that's 28 plus the probably at least 70 and maybe upwards of 100 million. So it was a good day for Ukraine. Okay, overnight, Ukrainian air defenses shot down 22 of 23 Shahed-type drones launched by Russia. That sounds great, only 23, except that means they're saving up for another day of 300, 400, or 500 drones all swarming at the same time. So this terrifies me when I see that. And the one that got through, a direct hit on the 9th floor. Russian drone kills 2 in Odessa. Russian Shahed drone struck the residential high-rise in Odessa, killing a married couple. At least 9 others were injured, including 2 children. And so you can see what that looks like in the image here. This was a teacher from Odessa killed by Russia last night with her husband, Valentin. Their bodies were found under the debris of a residential building Russia attacked. Okay, last night on the battlefield, 1,000 Russians off the battlefield, only 1 tank. The number of tanks has been really, really low. I don't know if the Russians have just pulled their tanks back or they're waiting for a rainy day to use them or exactly what. But this has been, I've seen one like 4 times this week. 12 armored fighting vehicles, 35 artillery systems, 131 vehicles, and fuel tanks. In the Bakros direction, Russian invaders led 53 assaults. So 53 is pretty high for the 1,000 as a casualty number, but this is just where we are right now. Okay, Ukraine set a trap in a forest trap in Sumy. Russian battalion vanished inside. Ukrainian forces killed battalion commander and overran his command post, forcing dozens of Russian soldiers to surrender. Never forget to close the toilet door. Like, drones are the big story. In fact, by the way, I'll suspend that until later on. I'll give you an announcement in just a little bit. This guy is just hiding in here in what looks like an outhouse or some kind of shed or something. And yeah, drones can find you. I mean, it's just, and here's the drone defense. The Porcupine van, a spiked vehicle built to deflect the Ukrainian drones. I mean, the logic of it is reasonable. But there's got to be places, so you can't get close enough for it to blow up and actually do the damage that it would otherwise do. But the logic of it doesn't, like, why not go on top or right by the window or under it or so? I mean, it's not going to, I would say bulletproof, but really drone proof is what we're trying to get to here. It's not going to be drone proof. Ukrainian drones target 4 radars, 4 launchers of Russian S-400 SAM in occupied Crimea. I'd be embarrassed if I was Sam and I was defeated by a tiny FPV drone that cost $500. That's just, yeah. For the attack, Ukrainian military intelligence used FPV copters, likely launched from a naval drone. That's just awesome. Okay, Ukrainian aviation hit a concentration of Russian forces in the Bakros direction with 2 GBU-62 guided bombs. These things are no joke. Look at the size of these things. Like, that's pretty impressive. And then here, Ukrainian drones spectacularly destroyed a fully loaded North Korean M1991 MLRS. This is the first one that we're aware of that was actually destroyed in Ukraine. And then here's just a Ukrainian jet dropping its payload. You see that, and then I'll show you the aftermath. There goes those missiles or those bombs, and here's the aftermath. Look at that thing. That's a spectacular explosion. Okay, North Korean forces may soon fight inside Ukraine, says Seoul. We knew this was coming. It's no surprise. They're about to send more North Koreans, and yeah. Okay, Taiwan now has completed combat trials of suicide drones modeled on Ukraine's anti-tank weapons, with plans to acquire 25,000 units equipped with the same AI systems that the Ukrainian forces use to destroy Russian armor. It's no joke. They're preparing against the threat that China actually is. Meanwhile, the Kremlin may be deprioritizing aircraft industry in an effort to conserve funds for producing drones and weapons needed on the battlefield in Ukraine. Well, the Ukrainians are deprioritizing the aircraft industry too, but I don't think that that's what they mean. They're just not putting the money into it that they otherwise would because drones are more powerful. Look, so this is the time for the announcement. Greg Terry and I have worked together for a long time. I know about a third of my audience is new to me since about March this year. So about 50,000 of you have come in the last few months. So we do these fundraisers periodically, and we're about to roll out another one for specific type of drones that can be very, very useful, and just be looking for that coming in the forward. Okay. Ukraine's cabinet has approved the launch of DOT Chain Defense, a digital weapons marketplace. Military units will directly order drones, electronic warfare, tools, and other gear with full supply transparency. The rollout starts in July, beginning with FPV drones. So they're trying to make this system more transparent, less likely to fall into some kind of corruption. And it's not even necessarily corruption. It's just that, like, if one person is grabbing drones or other equipment that they need and others who need it more can't get it, then, we got a problem. So trying to work out that system. Zelensky also says that they're scaling up Ukraine's capabilities, particularly with interceptor drones. Have issued special directives. The results must be clear: increased production in Ukraine and for Ukraine. Interceptor drones are going to be game changing when they can use interceptors at scale instead of having to, try to shoot them down manually. That's going to befuddle what Russia does to Ukraine every night with the Shaheds. Meanwhile, the White House is recommending halting funding for investigations into Russian crimes in Ukraine. This just came out 2 days ago, while an estimated 35,000 stolen children from Ukraine are forcibly Russified in forced adoptions, and then they're taught to be good Russians. And that's just genocidal. Even if it's not killing, it's still genocidal. Okay. The ambassador from Estonia is saying, this is the Ambassador Jonathan, I can't pronounce his last name, Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He says, look, we're not for landmines, but we're against occupation, and we're ready to do whatever it takes to defend our freedom. In the same way that Taiwan is bracing against China, the entire eastern flank of NATO, the Finland, the Baltic states, Poland, are all like lining up defenses against Russia because they see the threat. All right, finally, you know how much I love drones. I think drones are this is what warfare is becoming. And I'm not saying that this is a warfare drone, but I just thought this was amazing. It just emulates what a bird's claw can do. So it can fly to a tree, sit in a tree, and just kind of that's some crazy stuff. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Please leave comments below and tell me what you thought about what you saw here. Thank you for the likes. They help spread this message. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.